Before we start today's show, we want to invite you to stick around at the end of the episode to enjoy a preview of a new podcast that premieres on July 14th. As the industry's exclusive cannabis podcast network, MJBulls is proud to present Women Leading in Cannabis. Join host Kira Reed each week for inspirational discussions with women who are leading the cannabis industry.
Welcome to today's Hemp Barons podcast, everyone. I'm host Joy Beckerman, and we have a great guest on the show today. Now, farmers are the most important part of the hemp supply chain. Without seeds in the ground, we have nothing. The world's most versatile, valuable crop is only versatile and valuable if the farmers are able to plant it, and they need good, reliable information to navigate this ancient but fairly complex crop when it gets down to the details of it. So Doug Edgethe, the Vice Chair of the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association Board of Directors, and he's also Senior Vice President of Business Solutions for Farm Journal, is going to be on the show today. Now, Farm Journal really has spearheaded this new organization. We're so grateful for its birthing that will really serve farmers who are looking to add hemp into their rotations. And of course, there are new folks coming on board looking to get into farming for the first time. But Farm Journal has been around since 1877, 142 years of being the nation's leading business information and media company serving the agricultural market, serving farmers. A distribution Farm Journal and Ag Web of somewhere around over 670,000 recipients, last I heard. So it's absolutely key that this infrastructure, this existing infrastructure, this 142 years of service to farming in the United States has embraced and taken on hemp in the form of the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association. And this incredible new trade association serving farmers and ancillary businesses, believe me, please get on ushempga.org to look at the different memberships that they have available. It was formed by, again, Farm Journal spearheading it, the U.S. Hemp Farming Alliance, which is the trifecta of the U.S. Hemp Farming, of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable and the U.S. Hemp Authority. We also had formed the U.S. Hemp Farming Alliance and now folded that into the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association, as well as First Crop, International Hemp Solutions, and Hilo Seed Company have formed this great trade association. So just really excited to interview Doug today and talk about what Farm Journal's, basically how they got involved with this exciting crop and what their goals are and their mission is with this new organization. COVID-19, it's going to be fascinating next week. I actually relocate. I'll be keeping a small residence in the state of New York. I spend a lot of time there and do a lot of work with the emerging hemp economy in the Hempire State, as I call it. And I've lived there for many years as a younger adult. Owned actually the first hemp store in the state of New York, but I am moving back to Seattle. Seattle is where I raised my children, my two sons, who are now 26 and 28. Both of them are entering master's programs. And in the middle of all this, my one son, Spiral Walking in Balance is his name. He'll be driving across the country from Seattle to Lexington, Kentucky, where he'll start an MBA program there. And then I will be driving my Prius with a very dedicated road warrior, awesome healthcare law attorney friend of mine from upstate New York to Seattle. So I start that drive on May 15th, the very day currently that New York is opening back up very slowly, very responsibly. I'll be driving across the country. And I think, it could be fairly haunting. I'm not excited about staying in hotels. I think we're going to do Airbnbs and get our own food, at grocery stores. And I think we're going to navigate across the country that way. And just super excited. I will miss being a permanent resident of New York, as I have been for the last couple of years or 2.5 years, but will be so grateful to remain a part-time resident and be back full-time in the Pacific Northwest, the Emerald City, as it were. Well, in any event, folks, get ready for a really great interview with Doug Edgethe. I'll see you again next week. And in the meantime, I'm sending my highest vibrations and wishing everyone and their families good health and inspiration. Well, welcome, Doug. Thank you so much for being with us on Hemp Errands today.
Well, thanks for having me, Joy. It's a pleasure to be with you.
You're doing such amazing work. First of all, of course, you have this foundation with this long career with the Farm Journal. Farm Journal, which is AgWeb and serves so many thousands, hundreds of thousands of farmers across the United States and beyond, and have also formed with some other founding members the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association to serve farmers in this reestablishment of the versatile, valuable hemp plant, which has finally reclaimed its place in the broad light of day with all of America's other agricultural commodities. So first, tell us about your experience and career with Farm Journal and what Farm Journal does, and then I'd love to move right into U.S. Hemp-Growers.
Sure, and it's really an interesting journey that I've been on myself. I'm a farmer at core. We have a farm in Indiana, just northeast of Indianapolis, and it's been primarily over the years a grain, corn, soybean farm, and we've raised livestock over the years and had a few horses and those kind of things. So, my roots are in agriculture, and I joined Farm Journal 6 years ago. And since then, I now help today lead our research and data division that we have at Farm Journal. And a lot of people know the name or maybe have heard of the name Farm Journal, but it's actually a 143-year-old company with roots of delivering a newspaper to anyone on horseback within a day's ride of Philadelphia. It's kind of how it started. And today it's really a multimedia data research company. And we really don't get into association building or management of an association, but when a group of hemp industry leaders came to us and asked for help and really felt like with our brand and the heritage it has rooted in agriculture, we could help really legitimize the industry and bring farmers some good education and content that they need to really navigate getting back into, as you described, a rebirth of a very old crop for us here in the U.S. So we decided to embrace that, and I was kind of in the middle of all that, I guess, and helping us go down that path. We were looking at the hemp industry from really purely a content and data standpoint, and when this group came together and asked us if we would help build the association, I got to be honest, we thought long and hard about it, and whether or not it was the right thing for us to do as an organization. And then we just felt like, in our core, we advocate for farmers. And if this can be a viable crop that they can put in rotation and create, profitability for their farming operation, we need to advocate for that. And so we decided to embrace it.
What a blessing to have Farm Journal and AgWeb's participation in this, because what we're talking about is from we, as in, and you're a part of this now, obviously, right smack dab in the middle of it, Doug, we meaning the hemp industries, those of us who are so much rooting for and invested in the success and delivering on the promise of this crop. And the blessing here is that we're talking about leveraging Farm Journal, AgWeb's existing legacy and networks and infrastructure that communicates with so many tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of farmers, saying this infrastructure is already in place. These communication mechanisms are already in place. Let's take it and infuse hemp into it the best that we can. And we started to see, obviously, already great articles in Farm Journal and through all of those various platforms. And now, of course, you have the Hemp College, which I'm excited to talk about. But what an amazing shot for almost a shot of steroids, for lack of a more appropriate term here, for farmers looking to take advantage of adding this incredible crop into its rotation, especially now. And I think the timing is so perfect. Had you come in 2014 under so much gray area, we may have already burnt you out or exhausted Farm Journal and so on and so forth. And you may have decided, no way are we going into an association sort of model here. But with the 2018 Farm Bill, with the complete removal of hemp and even THC derived from hemp from the controlled substances, and its inclusion in the Agricultural Marketing Act of 1946, legalized an agricultural commodity that I think has helped or will help for U.S. Hemp-Growers Association to not have to deal with the more exhausting, tedious nature of all of the gray areas and complexity that existed between the 2014 and 2018 Farm Bills, and just get this information out to that huge network of farmers. Farmers being the heroes here. We've got nothing to produce if the farmers are not putting the seeds in the ground. And as you know, Doug, because you've had to come up to speed quite a bit on all manners of hemp, and it's a wide spectrum of knowledge to sort of undertake, and everyone, including myself after 30 years, is learning all the time. But you see that we just need to get information out there. So tell us a little bit about how the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association formed, your partners that exist on the founding board now.
Sure, Joy. And to your point, you're exactly right. We wouldn't have been to the place we're at if it really wasn't for the work that you and a number of other, what I really consider trailblazers in the industry, helped get us to. And by changing the laws, by getting state regulatory issues pushed through, really has opened the door to this being a great viable crop again for American farmers. So my thanks go to you and the many others that worked for tirelessly for years to get this work done. And one of those folks that I know you know very well is Michael Bowman. And Michael was actually one of the first people that I spoke with. We ran into each other at the National Farm Broadcasters Association conference, and where Michael was actually speaking about hemp and the possibility of this. This was prior to the passage of the Farm Bill, which changed everything. And he was speaking of the possibility of this being a good rotational crop for farmers to integrate into their operations. And so I made a connection with Michael at that point, and that's where really the dialogue started with, wanting to form an association. There were a number of associations out there, and there still are today, a number of great, what I consider really industry associations. So they're covering all aspects of the hemp industry. They have many folks involved in the supply chain and in product, manufacturers to farmers as well. And so when we looked at the landscape of the associations out there, one of the things that became evident to Michael and many others and myself and folks involved in production agriculture was that there was really no grower-centric organization that was really solely focused on the farmer. And when you look at other crops and other production agriculture in terms of livestock, and whether it be cattle or swine or poultry or whatever, they all have their own farmer-centric trade organizations to help kind of advocate and support and educate members and provide networking opportunities and all of that. And so hemp really, we didn't feel like, and many others felt like, didn't have that was solely focused on the farmer. And so that's when Michael introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Bob Hoban, which for those that don't know, but I'm sure a lot of people listening probably know who that is. But Bob is an attorney and has a law firm that has done a tremendous amount of legal work for the industry, and then also has Bija Seed and International Hemp Solutions, and has his hands in a lot of other hemp organizations, and has just built up a great business not only here in the U.S. but across the globe in the industry. And so Bob and his team, got behind what we were doing, and then from there it really just started to spiral. I mean, we got introduced at the Hemp Industry Association event to the folks from Hilo Seed, and they wanted to join in what we're doing, and then they introduced us to a group called FlexMod, which was working more with farmers on the processing side of creating these modular processing units that they could drop into a farming location and help help farmers that way. And so they joined in, and then it just continued to snowball from there with more folks that want to join. The U.S. Hemp Farming Alliance group came on board with us, and they were an offshoot of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, and they were a very farmer-focused group, and they felt like they wanted to align with us to really get to the next level they wanted to go. So those leaders from that group came in and got involved, and those folks are now members of the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association, and it's just really grown from there.
The names that you are saying, I mean, my heart just warms. You start with Michael Bowman, a hero in the hemp space and agricultural space. Bob Hoban, one of my favorite human beings, not just as an activist, as a person. And the same is true, by the way, for all of these folks, in particular, Michael. And we just interviewed Bob just this week and did a switch, and he interviewed me for his podcast. But Bob is just amazing. International Hemp Solutions, Hoban Law Group, Bija, Hilo Seed, an incredible team. But the first name that comes to mind for me is Christian Gray, just one of the finest humans, to think of, and who does so much volunteer work for all manners of advocacy and people and farmers. But of course, the World Ag Expo, the largest agricultural trade show in the world, being one of his babies. And we have so much to thank Christian for the World Ag Expo's embracing. And you were there. We were there the whole time for those 3 glorious days. Embracing hemp for the first time this year with a hemp pavilion, a hemp village, the Hemp Innovation Challenge. That was amazing. And then you say FlexMod, another incredible team with Preston Whitfield, who I just absolutely adore. And when you say U.S. Hemp Farming Alliance, I mean, that I just have to say, an incredible, responsible decision. So I, in full disclosure, am so proud to disclose that, of course, I am an executive vice president for the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, which seed funded the U.S. Hemp Authority. They no longer fund it, but they seed funded the U.S. Hemp Authority, a separate 501c6 trade organization, which is a third-party, independent verified certification program for hemp dietary supplements, food, and cosmetics. And by the way, as industries and infrastructure expand, so will that certification program expand beyond ingestibles and topicals into many other parts of the hemp industries. But the third trifecta of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, the U.S. Hemp Authority, was to be the U.S. Hemp Farming Alliance. And that was formed and born into the world. And the reality is that the leaders of those groups, in their infinite wisdom and in their dedication and commitment to farmers and to the plant and to the work that we do with our various missions and obligations, said, you know what, we just can't take on this third leg and really serve farmers the way they need and deserve to be served. And I love that then the permaculture, as I like to say, economic or advocacy permaculture came along and said, listen, let's work with the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association and basically allow U.S. Hemp-Growers Association to absorb us. And if I'm using the wrong words there, please correct me, Doug, absorb the U.S. Hemp Farming Alliance into this larger group, the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association, with so many wonderful people and teams working together to make this a new and strong leading organization for farmers.
No, you're right. And it's we're proud and very blessed to have all these different organizations and leaders. I really look to as leaders, and we, and I don't come from the hemp industry myself. I come from ag and from farming. Although we'll be planting our first hemp crop this spring here, which I'm excited about. But it's been fun to really navigate and see, and you can tell. I don't think you've got to be an expert in the hemp industry to be able to see who good people are. And I think these are just some of the upper echelon that have helped drive this industry forward. And so it really got us excited as an organization and me myself as a farmer to see that, these folks had the passion they did to want to do something more, and want to really tap into the heart of outdoor agriculture, which is what we're more involved with. We know there's a tremendous amount over the years of indoor growing that has happened in this crop and this plant, but really the future of it is unleashed among American farmers that do traditional, outdoor production. And that's what I'm excited to see, because I think we're just on the very, very front edge of that right now.
In such a big way. Farmers first, farmers first, farmers first. And I think that is what all of those founding members and the folks cheering you and U.S. Hemp-Growers Association on completely understand. And of course, we know that if we are not providing farmers with resources and tools and education, then the entire hemp economy fails right there. Because again, without them putting seeds in the ground, we got nothing.
Attention hemp farmers, introducing Advanced Hemp, the world's first hemp-specific fertilizing system designed to maximize yield and CBD production. Advanced Hemp's team of 25 PhD plant scientists have been researching the plant for over 20 years and understand it better than anyone. Don't fail to meet your hemp's unique needs like far too many farmers did last year. For heavy yield of the high CBD hemp, feed your crop Advanced Hemp. And you can order online at advancedhemp.com. That's advancedhemp.com. But don't wait, because production is limited, so pre-order now.
So can you tell us a little bit about the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association Hemp College, which I keep seeing these events popping up regionally, although we are sitting here in coronavirus time. So those events are probably more virtual right now, but tell us about Hemp College and what the intent and goals are there with the Hemp College.
So really, it goes back to our roots with Farm Journal. Over the years, Farm Journal has put on what we call college events. So it's, you don't get college credit for them, but they're one-day agronomy events, and they're focused around, a particular crop. And we've done these for years for a lot of the traditional, crops like corn and soybeans and cotton and sorghum and those kind of things. And so we felt like, that's an area that we knew how to execute those kind of one-day small events like that, but pack in a lot of information into those. And so we launched those last year, focused on the hemp crop, and very agronomy focused too, I should say, because there's a lot of hemp events that cover lots of different topics, whether it's legal, finance, end-use products, those kind of things. And so our events were very focused around the agronomic side of how to raise the crop, how to evaluate, your seed selection, do you have the right soil type for the right kind of genetics that you want to plant, and then where do you go beyond that to take that crop to market, how to contractually you work with folks, and we did touch on, because this is such a unique and different crop, some of the legal aspects and financial aspects of it, but for the most part, hemp colleges have been very agronomy focused, and obviously, as you mentioned, we're in this time period where every live event has been stopped at this point, and we're revamping it now to make those virtual, and we're getting ready actually here very soon to launch our first e-learning hemp educational piece, which we're taking now some of the folks that have spoken at some of our hemp colleges across the country, and some of the ones that have been very highly rated among our farmers, to then create e-learning modules with them that we can make available through the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association and through the Farm Journal platform. So we're in the process of kind of shifting gears and putting our focus there right now. We will likely start back up some live events, later this year once the coronavirus has passed and that's safe to do again. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've had some great speakers, some great topics, a lot of learning, and that's really part of the mission of the Hemp-Growers Association, is to provide that education to farmers to really help them evaluate, is this even the right crop for my farm? We oftentimes will, some people say, well, you help me make a decision. This, we're not really set up for this crop, and we'd have to invest a lot of money to change our practices and our equipment and our operation to do so. And that particular farmer just may not be ready to do that at this point in time. So we don't sugarcoat anything at these events, and we don't with the association either. We understand that there's risk involved with growing hemp right now. There's just like any crop, but there maybe is a little bit more risk with hemp than other crops, and it's a volatile market. We're seeing across the country here. And this is one thing I'd love to get out, Joy, with this experience with you is, there's always negative news, right? And there's always negative about every subject there is under the sun. But I know one thing about farmers, they seek out information. And what I don't want to see happen is as they seek this information out and they read these articles about, a particular farmer and their crop going hot and them having to destroy the whole acreage that they planted, or they got some bad genetics, or there's bad actors in everything, and we've had our share in the early stages of integration of this crop into the traditional farming arena. And I think that my biggest hope would be that they don't get discouraged by the negative. There's a lot of positive out there. There's a lot of folks that are doing some very innovative things with hemp, and there's going to be more of that. I mean, we're seeing some very exciting things being researched and coming to market around plastics and construction and all kinds of uses for fiber and grain and once we get past some of the regulatory things when we're approved to feed the biomass to animals and for human food consumption, this crop has nothing but upside. And so I hope that farmers and folks listening to this don't hear the negative things and believe that there's no future, or that, boy, that was a short-lived, kind of gold rush, on CBD or whatever, and now it's over, because we've really just started. I mean, I think that it's so infant right now, and there's so many other uses, and even on CBD, I think there's going to be some great new discoveries in the years to come. There's other things that the plant, from a nutritional and medical benefit, I think is going to be discovered and created. I'm not going to make any claims here that those things are, we got to be careful, I know, on that, but I think it's going to happen. I mean, if I looked into a crystal ball, I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of research done. It's already ongoing. It's just going to ramp up, and we're going to have all kinds of discoveries, and this plant is going to be beneficial in a tremendous amount of ways that we're not even thinking of right now.
So true. And, and for people like me, who have been literally just dedicating so much of our life and our time and our energy because it's so fulfilling and so rewarding, and we're so purpose driven for 30 years, I'm promising you, Doug, that all of those things are coming. There's just no way that such a population of people, have been so driven for all of these decades to work so hard for a plant. And believe me, in the beginning, there was nothing cool about it 30 years ago. You were really exposing yourself either to ridicule or to some type of a suspicion from law enforcement in order to do your life's work. And it is not for nothing, brother. It is so amazing. And of course, you've set me up to say the list that I so love to say, which is, and we can only even touch upon a few things as I exhaust folks with my list, but this plant is here to serve all of the needs of humanity: human and animal nutrition, nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, body care, paper, textiles, building materials, biocomposites, industrial sealants and coatings, biomedical applications, nanotechnology. I mean, it goes on and on, the promise of this plant. And of course, there are other crops out there that are very diverse. And when we look at corn and all of the things we can do with corn and soy, and there are other less known crops that have a lot of versatility. The issue is that while some of these crops look like hemp, when we take hemp, particularly, let's say, the fiber or the stalk, and we look at it under a microscope, and oftentimes now, because we didn't have this technology 30 years ago to look at hemp on the nanoscale, we see that it is much different, much more strong in so many ways. And then when we look at grain, lots of very nutritious grains out there. Having said that, none that match the dense nutritional profile of the hemp seed. And we talk about it so much in this show, the highest digestible form of protein and so on and so forth. So it is most definitely all coming. And boy, was I so happy when I realized that hemp, because I believe that, I get spiritual at it. Hemp picks people. It picks organizations, and now it's picking the whole world. But boy, when it set its sights on the Farm Journal, I knew we were going to be fast moving here, because to have the Farm Journal take it on and take it on in the way that it has, as you said, Farm Journal is not a business of trade associations, for goodness sake. It made an exception for this exceptional crop and this exceptional opportunity for our farmers. It's just pretty amazing stuff. And of course, there are different levels of membership, multiple levels of membership for the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association. And one of the things that we appreciate so much about it is the affordability, the ability for a farmer to enter, or a student, or a government or academic member who really wants to, and we need them, as you know, Doug, to have access to the good and vetted information. So for a grower, somebody who actually has a license or permit to grow hemp, or is growing it under someone else's license or permit, $100 a year for annual dues for our farmers. I mean, this is really a very low entry to get hooked into U.S. Hemp-Growers Association, being run by some of the most amazing hempsters that North America, and in fact the planet, actually knows. Student members, $75. Academic and government members, only $150. We're talking about annual dues. And then, of course, there are associate, affiliate, and other allied members with different structures beyond that. Of course, it's just such a noble thing to make those dues so that they are not cost prohibitive and would not advance the mission that I know U.S. Hemp-Growers is so very important to carry out in the best and highest integral way that it can. So you said that Hemp College, there are some electronic or virtual classes coming out. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, we'll have some e-learning classes, and then we're looking at doing some full one-day hemp colleges online, like we would do, in a normal one-day live event. And we're actually working with a couple of different groups on that. There's actually some universities and some folks in some different geographies of the country that have asked us to help coordinate some of those for their particular or customize them for their particular curriculum that they want to promote. And so we're looking at some of those opportunities as well.
Oh, am I so excited to have an offline conversation with you about this. This is the stuff that lights up my entire brain and body. I've got hair standing on end. This is the mission. So fantastic. And of course, they're reaching out to you. This is so great, Doug. In our remaining time here, and it's just so wonderful to have you on the show, is there something that we've missed, or something, a message or call to action, or some other piece of information that you want to make sure our listeners know?
I think the biggest message, Joy, that we can promote as an association and as our role at Farm Journal and trying to push out good information through our media distribution platforms. And I know you mentioned agweb.com. We've got a whole section there dedicated to hemp. We have it listed as a crop with all of our other crops there now, and then U.S. Farm Report, our TV show, and Ag Day TV that is our daily agricultural focus show, and then AgriTalk, our radio program, and we're dedicated to covering hemp and covering it in a positive way. And as I said earlier, I think my biggest fear, and if I could just reiterate one message and one theme from this today is we have a lot of positive runway ahead of us for this crop, and I think that I just don't want farmers to get discouraged by a negative story here or there or an issue, and seek out good information. And I think make sure that who you purchase your seed from and who you're using for agronomy advice and all that, they've got a track record. They know what they're doing. There's a lot of folks like yourself that have got many years of experience in growing this plant and caring for it, and taking good responsibility for it to get it to an end state and beyond harvest and marketed. And I just would encourage folks to really seek them out. And I think we've got that on our board of the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association. I think we're reaching out from there, and as we bring on memberships at all different levels, obviously we're more core about farmers. And I didn't say this earlier, but to make this a grower-centric group, we have a 15-member board, and 8 of those seats have to be controlled by farmers. So that that really helps us when we're talking to folks, and whether it be in DC or at a hemp college, to say, we have no hidden agenda. We're not pushing, and Farm Journal certainly doesn't have a hidden agenda with anything regarding to the industry. So, we're there to provide the best information we can. And I just would encourage folks to seek out those credible sources. And if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is, the old saying goes. But that's really it. I mean, it's been great being with you, and I appreciate your time today and all the efforts that you've done here for the industry too.
Well, we can't wait to have you back on, Doug. So grateful for your involvement and dedication to this crop, for Farm Journal's involvement, and everyone who wants to get involved with the U.S. Hemp-Growers Association. All of those links will be on our site. Please do check out all of those offerings, and go to agweb.com as well and check out the hemp section. Doug, I'm very much looking forward to doing more great work with you. We're just getting started together, brother, and thank you so much for being with us on Hemp Barons today.
Thank you, Joy.
Tell me, boy, you make me so bored. You need to walk the other way. I tell you once more, please get out of my way. I don't want you no more. We're done here, boy. I know you think you're so fine, but you can't see it. I've been wanting to
Hi, my name is Kira Reed, and I'd like to invite you to be inspired by the women who are leading in the cannabis industry. Each week, we will discuss empowerment, leadership, and what it means to be a woman in charge in marijuana, hemp, and CBD. As the founder of the Women Empowered in Cannabis community, I have had the great pleasure to get to know many brilliant and talented women who are CEOs, executives, politicians, advocates, and community leaders that are focused on creating a cannabis economy that is just, fair, and equal. We'll learn how these women make decisions, how they navigate a predominantly male industry, and what they're doing to level the playing field for women. I hope you'll join us.